Yay! Ah! Let's see if it works. Hey!
Hi!
Yay!
This is so cool. Oh my god. We haven't seen her so long.
I know. It's like
weird.
each other on like social media, but it's definitely not the same.
No.
I'm like, oh, look what Emma's up to today. Usually I see you every day.
I know, on the live videos.
Yeah, it's good though. I mean, you gotta make it happen, right?
I love those live videos.
Seriously. And then putting them on YouTube, that's been really good for everybody.
Yeah, that's like it's been nice. And then like you can just kind of take class and whatever whenever you feel like.
I love
kind of cool.
morning yoga with Miss Barry, and then I take the ballet classes when they're convenient for my time because you guys are putting them on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So that's been nice.
Barry's yoga has been the best for me.
No,
like
she's
the constant, like, all right, here we are. Grounded.
She is a superhuman.
Yeah. I'm glad you're together.
Are you? Yeah, she was like, why don't you come here? And I was like,
I literally texted her. I was like, I'm formally inviting you to my house for this Zoom meeting.
I know, it's so official.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Let's get right into it. So can you just tell us a little bit about how you guys started dancing and like the process of coming to take ballet?
You go first.
Okay. It was, I think I was 6. You were 4, right?
I was 4.
And we were living in Massachusetts at the time, actually. And my grandmother said, there's a local dance studio here. And she basically wanted an excuse to see us more often. Like, it was a bit of a haul since we were living in Mass, and she lives in Winslow. So from here, that's even an hour-and-a-half drive where we live now. So from Mass, I don't even know. It was pretty long. And anyway, so she said, why don't you put the girls in dance so you can come up here once a week and they'll take class in Winslow. And that's basically how it got started. And that was, I think it was still back then called Stage Presence for Dancers. SP for D.
Yes, I think so.
And then
we went to see the Nutcracker once.
So we went to SFLA next year.
Oh, right.
Remember that?
Oh,
so we went to a dance studio that was, that was a little more local to when we moved to Raymond. Mm-hmm. So we moved from Mass to Raymond, Maine, and then went to a local dance studio there because we fell in love with dance and wanted to keep up with it. Mm-hmm. But I think their ballet teacher was pregnant or something like that, and they only had one ballet teacher. So then their ballet program was like done, and the teacher said, "Go see Maine State Ballet's Nutcracker."
Yeah, they actually told us to go there. So
yeah, they were like, "Your girls would love it. Just go check it out." And then,
that's when we went to see the Nutcracker. And we both fell in love with it. I think it was one of those times when you have like, imagine like 2 little girls sitting in the theater, just like staring at different dancers, like, that one's mine. And you're like, that one's mine. Yeah. And so I think I was 6 when I started at Maine State Ballet. I think I started a little bit later than you. She did a year with Nutcracker first before I got involved. And then I watched her on the stage and was like, well, that's not fair.
She literally was like, why can't I be on it?
Yeah.
I was like, well, obviously one day I'm going to be Clara.
I think it was Janet and Glenn as Sugar Plum and Cavalier, and Donica was Clara
that year.
Oh, yes.
Like, that's it.
Yeah.
So,
we enrolled that fall.
Yeah, rest is history. That's how we're here.
History. And growing up, what was it like, the dynamics? Because you guys spent a lot of time together. You know, you were homeschooled together. You were in classes and dance. Can you just say a little bit about that?
What's funny about that is a lot of people think that there would be a ton of drama around the idea of 2 sisters almost competing with each other while they're training. People were like, oh, like, how do you deal with it? Like, your sister gets all this, and then Adrienne gets all of this. But what helped us, I think, and you can either choose to agree or disagree, was that we were so different as far as our strengths go. She was obviously like the strong turner who could jump super high and was very athletic. You were. And I was like the gangly deer whose legs would just kind of go anywhere I wanted them to. And it kind of made us play into different things in dance and focus on different things. And so we didn't ever directly compare ourselves to one another. At least I don't feel that I ever did. Yeah. And I think that helped.
Yeah. It was so different, I think. Because we're pretty close in age. We're only 2 years apart. Yeah. And yeah, I just think that we've always been we're such different body types and skill sets that it was never really like a comparing thing.
What was
like,
really nice is in your like middle school, high school years, as like even just in usual life, you can find that you have problems with like not having a ton of friends because there might be a jealousy factor or competitiveness
just like
that happens.
teen stuff,
So
yeah.
we always had each other, and I think that really helped keep us motivated and keep us in it. Because if we hadn't had each other, we might have decided that this was too much and lonely.
Yeah, or like having a support system, I think, almost made it easier rather than like what people would expect on the other side. It wasn't competitive. It was totally a support system. Like when you started, because she started getting solos at a younger age than I did, but I was in the corps de ballet pretty early on. So it was kind of like, I was so happy to see her do those things. And I shot up and looked.
She was in the company when she was like 6.
Well, I don't know.
And I was like,
actually,
I'm like standing next to Rebecca Purser,
like what's happening?
No, I looked like this at like age 14. So I shot into the company really fast, and you were still petite and so flexible that it was so
never
easy.
had those spurt in my life.
no waiting.
Still waiting. Yeah, it was just so easy to like put you in featured roles, I think, from a young age, and so it's just different. Like our paths are just totally different.
Yeah,
I think it was a good thing, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can understand each other. Like when you come home at night and you're like, "This was so annoying," and then like the other person.
That I think is huge. Like honestly, my mom and I and you, like we all still talk about this. I think the reason why the three of us in the family were so close, are still so close, starts with the foundation of a half-hour drive to dance and back each way every day. Like we would just talk about like anything and everything. And just talk everything through. And I think that like definitely, because we started so young, you know, that time together to just be there for each other with whatever.
And I did, on top of that, her working so hard and being so dedicated made me like, I want to work that hard and be that dedicated. Like she is the one that's over there like pushing for, I don't know, 5 turns, and I'm like, well, I should maybe do a couple turns, I guess.
It was definitely
was little things like that. It was getting to talk to her about people, and if we were excited about something, it's like, oh, when we got in the company together, we could be like, hey, did you see me do that turn today? Or did you see that? And it's just like, yeah, and it's definitely, it makes it a really, it's already a nice environment at Maine State Ballet, and that it kind of added to it to have someone that I was so close with at home and in the studio.
For sure.
Well, and you guys are so different that you see Adrienne's leg up there and you're like, oh, I can get
Literally,
it.
So we were talking about that today or yesterday, because this is terrible, but I got on TikTok, highly regret it, but like can't stop swiping. I can't help it. And I'm like, I said to her, I'm like, you're the one that should be on TikTok. Like, I can't do any of these flexy things. You would be famous like that. Just like do a tilt thing and like 1,000 followers. And so I never really like, you know, like nowadays maybe I'm like a little jealous that I can't do those things. But in the past it was just like, that's her thing. I can't touch that. But
we had our shticks.
We all have our shticks.
Who was like a big inspiration for you growing up? Either like at Maine State Ballet or like people you saw online or
Janet.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
Such a hard worker, so consistent.
And I know we're not just trying to say that just to like, it's true. It's true.
Dead serious. I feel like we've been really lucky to have very strong female figures in our life.
Yes,
for
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Janet being one of them. For sure.
I think what I always liked about, and I'll leave
and Mrs Maylie, obviously.
First
I was
of all,
thinking more of a class. So hard.
She worked incredibly hard. She just like told a story, and that's personally what I always connect with. Is like I like the story.
Yeah.
I always have. And I think that's in particular what I always admired. Other dancers that I always looked up to when I was younger were, of course, Donica, the first girl that did Clara,
Rebecca
that I saw.
It was like they're still an inspiration to this day. I think I was thinking more growing up for sure, like having those people.
Kate Bennett.
There were just some really lovely, beautiful, like they're a good handful of beautiful, like young adult women that were just so kind and worked hard and were just a really lovely presence.
What a great group of dancers we
had
to watch growing up.
Really good people to look up to. And then to watch Sarah, Esty, and Robin and Leanne Esty just totally slay and make it in their careers, and know that like we think of like a lot of like I definitely love Adrienne Almeida in terms of like famous dancers that I looked up to. She was one of them for me.
I always love Svetlana Zakharova. always
She's like the string being crazy.
I know, exactly. So I was like, I get it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's.
What was like a favorite role of yours growing up to, let's say, to watch somebody do, and then a favorite role that you've done?
You go first.
I mean, I'm gonna have to think about the one that I enjoy watching, because there's a lot I enjoyed doing. I just found I was cleaning off some flash drives because, with this like plethora of time, what else am I going to do other than clean flash drives, right? Just like find the old files and like empty them off. But I found the full-length Don Q that your mom must have given to me at some point from when I did it, and that was really fun. Like I forgot how much fun that was.
I loved that.
It was
show.
pretty
Everybody
awesome.
loves that show. That one's just fun.
That one was probably my favorite to do, just because it was like, it's technically demanding and it was stamina wise, acting wise, all of it, and had that challenge, but it was also the most fun. Like Swan Lake is right up there, Sleeping Beauty's right up there, Nutcracker, but Don Q is just a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's the music too.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It gets you in a good mood.
I was like watching, like sitting in front of my laptop, like shaking, listening to the music.
Pick up your nerves again.
Yeah, I had butterflies watching it. It doesn't go away.
And it plays to your strengths too.
Yes, it definitely played to her strength. I loved watching you in that role.
I was two friends with you.
Yeah, you were. You were. It was your show that I had.
I can't pick one of each that I've been like, that's my favorite to do and that's my favorite to watch. I think some of my favorites to watch, I've been lucky enough to have my favorites to watch be some of the roles I've gotten to do, which is obviously really cool. So that's like Claire and the Nutcracker, which we mentioned. I loved the Can doll in the Magic Toy Shop.
That was really good.
I loved watching it, loved doing it. I thought it was funny. I loved being six friends in Coppelia. It was really fun to do. But one I've always loved watching in particular is Odette, the White Swan in Swan Lake. Mm-hmm. I think that ballet is so emotional and powerful, and obviously it's a classic. And I could watch anybody do that role any day, any time ever.
Talk about the music. Oh, it goes like through your heart.
I know.
I feel like you can't help but feel it.
Mm-hmm. I just cry when I watch ballet.
I'm thinking back now at some of the things I got to watch. I loved watching Britain, Mrs. Maylie's Britain.
I was just about to say that. I was like watching Elizabeth Dragoni come in on the shoulders.
Lizzie Jane, Kate, Rebecca too.
I dreamed about that entrance, most epic entrance ever, by the way. Yeah. I dreamed about that entrance for so many years, and then when I did it, I was on the shoulders, and I was like,
I am on the side of the stage, standing in B+ while you get
like waiting, and I'm like,
yeah, and then
and I'm doing nothing at all.
Yeah.
Like I'm hopping on one foot, but nobody cares.
It was just so edgy. Like, I remember the first time I saw Britain, and it was just really different from anything I'd seen MSB do. And I was still probably pretty young at the time, so really I had only seen the story ballets. And I was just like, this is so edgy, like so abstract. Like, it's like, it's just, one of my favorites for sure.
I think what I liked about Britain the most was I had a great experience because she was in Britain when they took it on tour to upstate Maine.
Was that Holton?
Yeah. Anyways, my sister was super cool.
That was Bangor, sorry.
It was Bangor.
But
you're moving up in the world.
Yeah. It was Bangor.
Yeah.
But
it was a nice theater.
Yeah, it was super nice. I got to go along for the ride. I wasn't in it. She was. But I got to go along for the ride because I was the cool younger sister. And I loved the experience of it, and I loved listening to it. I watched every time they rehearsed. I was like,
yeah, definitely.
So
good memories associated with
the music is just so intense and epic.
It's different too, you know, like it ebbs and flows.
It's good. And it doesn't have to have a story. It's just the coolest thing.
Just dance.
Just dance.
Exactly.
Do you want to talk about what it's like to watch Mrs. Maylie choreograph a ballet like that, like Stravinsky?
I was just about to say Stravinsky. That's like the best example we have.
The way she interprets music and can get the counts, it's so funny. I'm doing a recital piece that the music is a little bit uneven. And I literally had to sit my students down and we're like, okay, let's count together. And did it probably 3 times before we were finally, okay, it's 3 8s and an 11. And then like, whatever. And she just gets it so fast. And I'm like, I can't, sometimes it takes me minutes to figure out counts.
Some of my favorite moments with Mrs. Maylie ever were from our process of learning Stravinsky, because she was just, I don't want to say vomiting out choreography, but she was just. She was. And I just remember. I know. It was like, God, it was like 16, 3, 2, 2, 8. And I'm like.
Yeah. That last second.
I know. I don't think I've ever been more tired in my life.
Oh, that was hard.
Wasn't it hard?
What was it? It was Stravinsky, right? We just called it Stravinsky. Yeah. That was hard.
I just remember
right?
Yeah, she had the paw.
Yeah, which was really that was fun. I think it's also interesting now as like a teacher too to watch her process. Like some segments she'll come in with choreography in mind, you know.
Yeah.
And she'll have it kind of pre-choreographed and maybe just make little tweaks along the way depending on traffic and whatever. But for the paw, it was very much so on the spot and just working with the two of us, like, is this possible? Is this arm whatever? Yeah, like, can we do this? And so that was kind of right. That was kind of cool to just be working through it with her together, kind of live. You know what I mean?
And then I got the other side of it where she's going in with the core. How many girls were in that? I don't remember. Like in the first 11, opening section.
9.
I see like 9.
Yeah, I thought it was an odd number.
It was something like that. I just remember wanting so badly to memorize every little thing she was doing as quickly as possible because it was so intricate, and I wanted to be able to make sure that we were able to keep pushing forward. Like the quicker I memorized it and the quicker my fellow dancers picked it up and did it full out, I knew.
Adrienne is that person though. She's like, get it?
Right. Yes. She said it 2 times.
I
know.
You always pick up choreography.
I can't understand.
Yeah, it's like not only it was so complicated and so fast. It was like a challenge, and I loved being able to be one of the people to learn it and do it. I want to watch that ballet. I gotta find that. We gotta post that.
Hey, Emma, do you have the video?
Yeah, I know. We'll play it right now.
No, that's the other nice thing, back to like the sister thing, but if I ever don't know the choreography, she probably knows it.
Oh my gosh, but nowadays I'm so busy that I'm like,
oh my gosh,
Emma, what's the choreography?
It's fun to be opposite sides of the room as you when we're learning things, especially like Stravinsky, and then we like look at each other and we're like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 11, 10.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah, it was like 1, 2.
Wait, oh, she did it. Yeah, she just did it. Oh my god, that ballet was cray.
Yeah, it was. I do love whenever Emma and I are opposite each other.
Yeah,
we always will be like,
that's right.
Yeah, I thought so. Other people were doing it wrong, but I saw that you were doing it right.
I know. Yeah, you look at each other, you're like,
validation.
Yeah.
I know. I hate when they do like majority rules because Adrienne and I are right.
You two are just like,
we're
at it.
I memorized this for.
But then sometimes they compromise. They're like, well, if everybody else feels like this,
and we're like, okay. Pick your battle.
We lay down our guns. We're like, all right, fine.
We'll let you have this one.
Yeah.
What has been some like fun sister on stage memories for you guys?
I feel like I just watched one.
Capelia.
Oh my! So funny. So funny. So I was doing Swan Hilda, and she was one of the 6 friends, and then we definitely slid in like as many comedy moments with each other as we possibly could.
So fun.
Weren't you the one where, okay, so 6 friends, Swan Hilda, go wake up the doll, go talk to the doll. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And then they're like, no, go. And it's just Adrienne like.
I'm like, obviously the tiny one, and that's what's so funny about it. And I'm like, get over there. and go get the doll.
And
Okay?
it was like, kind of indicative of real life relationships. Like,
I think what was fun about that one was we weren't in the Nutcracker when I was Claire and she was Sugar Plum,
nice
and we
too.
get to give each other a hug. Like, that's special in a very like sentimental kind of way. Like, I will always love that we have a picture of that, and then we got to do something like that. But the difference was in Coppelia, we were able to kind of make some of it up.
It was funny.
We were able to interact.
That's helpful because it's funny. Like, or doing Dewdrop. Like, I always tried to like kind of look at, wink at you, or blow kiss or whatever. Like,
I just remember
she's sitting in her chair.
I'm sitting in my chair and she's doing like her Sugar Plum pas de deux, and I am like more stressed out than she is. I'm like, oh, get the lift. Yeah. Okay, she did it. And
that's not fun.
Like over there dying.
But when it's over and I can look at you and be like,
and that walk around after the lift.
Yeah.
And you're just
it's
like,
over.
okay.
Gosh, yeah.
I know. I think the second act was way harder than the first act for Claire. She just has to sit there and get stressed.
No, I'm trying to think of any other roles that we like. Did you did Two Friends, right? In Don Q? Yeah,
but
so
I don't know if I was ever.
We didn't have a ton of
teaching.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I was Two Friends when.
So I was gonna say I don't really remember interacting too much, but there's got to be some other ballets for sure. But those are the two that
prominent ones,
stick out the most for sure.
There have been so many.
And you've shared roles like big roles like Sugar Plum, Cinderella. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Cinderella. That was so great.
It just felt like two different roles almost. Like we were doing the same steps kind of, but we would do certain things differently, and just kind of like, I remember definitely you doing some things and I'm like, hey, can I borrow that? Like, I like that. And we did that to each other for sure. Yeah. So it was
well, we
really
didn't mind.
fun.
It was like
it was really fun.
We found our own nuances to keep ourselves different, and obviously we had both focused on different things. But every now and then I would watch her and be like, oh, I really like the way she picked up the bucket.
Sweeps the floor when she's crying.
She walked off the stage with the broom, and then she came back on. That was incredible.
I would like get teary-eyed for sure when you would do the staircase moment, like watching that from because I was a princess, so I'm on the stage and I get or just in dress rehearsal if I got to watch
the scene when the clock starts ticking and you run around.
Oh, chills.
Every time. But I think one thing I really liked about when we in Sugar Plum and in Cinderella when we were doing the same role the same year, Maine State Ballet did such a great job. I don't want to say keeping us separate the right amount, but letting us rehearse and create our roles separately without having the influence of the other person so much. Like every now and then we would she would run the pas and then I would run the pas and we'd be in the same room. Yeah. But we got the opportunity to develop our characters and and develop the pas de deux with our partners.
Yeah, that's a part of it too. Like we usually have we ever shared a partner? Like for a same role? I don't think so.
Michael in Sugar Plum.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
You work separately.
Yeah, that's the thing. It felt so separate. Like it just wasn't.
Yeah, because every now and then after she'd have
the press, like it's
yeah, you can do a million turns.
Pressing Adrienne is a little different than
yeah. But what was cool is every now and then we would touch base with each other. So say she had like an hour-long rehearsal for the pas one day, I'd be like, oh, how was your rehearsal?
Yeah, we would do that. We would be like, oh, this went wrong for me. And you'd be like, oh, that went wrong for me too. Like, what do we do? Kind of thing. Or like, how can we fix it? So that was really nice. We did that a few times where we actually fixed something because we communicated.
And when we were, because everybody has those days working in Canada where they don't worry about themselves or how it went. So we would always have each other to fall back on, and we would be like, oh my gosh, because she's done it for so many years. She'd be like, those days stay, and then it'll be fine. Having that validation, like, okay, I don't stink. It was a bad day. I had her to fall back on.
Oh, bad days.
Right.
And she was like the alumni at
that point. Are you calling me? Oh,
no.
No. Let's talk about balancing life. So,
yeah,
let's talk about that. So,
the best part.
Rhi runs a business. She's a wife, and she's a principal dancer in Adrienne school, and cooking, and theater, and dancing, and teaching. And how do you find time to balance everything? Maybe let's let you go first. I don't know.
I'll go first. I am a true believer that you can do everything you want to do. A lot of people have said in the past, you have to focus on one thing and stick to it in order to be successful. And I never liked that. I enjoy doing so many things that I never want to limit myself and be like, hey, if you want to be good at anything, you can only do that. And I don't like that idea. So when I started picking up theater, the fear was, how is this going to impact my time in ballet, my time training, my grades in school, the ballets that I can do? And I think it's a lot about just doing what makes you happy and remembering to try and balance it all, to try and find time for everything. Unfortunately, this past year, because I chose to do theater, I've had to go to school part-time. That was a sacrifice I chose to make, and I lost scholarships because of it. And my parents were like, don't lose the scholarships. But I knew for myself, I was like, I want to do theater, and I cannot go to school full-time and dance and teach dance and make money and do the theater. So I let go of school a little bit. I take like 2 or 3 classes a semester now and do summer classes to make up for it. I pick and choose, unfortunately, some of the ballets that I do, which was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life, was picking when to do theater and when to do ballet. And I think I do a lot of planning now. I didn't used to be a big planner. She got me into it a little bit, but it helps. It definitely helps to plan.
Like total type A over here. Like,
but I think what helps me balance it is just staying as positive as I can, making sure I take care of myself, which I was so bad at. I got sick every day.
Yeah, she
like
was
every week, every other week I was sick for like a year because I was so busy and I wasn't taking care of myself. And I think coming into 2020 or end of 2019, I started to figure it out and prioritize my health more. And I think that helped me balance my life more than anything.
self-care.
Self-care.
Yeah. And bullet journals and spreadsheets.
Yes.
Planning is so fun. Yeah, I mean, everything that you said for sure. It's literally like trying to keep all the balls in the air at the same time, and like that one falls, you have to go up.
Like the balloons,
that one
like,
starts to drop, you throw it. That's literally.
Fitting
I mean,
the plates.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just go spin out. That's literally how it feels. And I'd say
but this girl is so good at it because she like, you know, you cook all the time and you keep her house is like super clean all the time. You got 2 dogs. You have your own business. How old are you? Can you tell that?
I'll be 25 in the summer. Yeah.
We're often my inspiration for getting my life together.
Aww.
Because she
Organized.
Yeah.
That is honestly though, that is the key is, and it took me a long time to kind of figure out my process and what works for me. Cause I think everybody's going to be a little bit different, but like make lists. If there's something, that's the thing. I think with modern day technology, we have no excuses. Like if there's something in my head and I'm like, I know I need to do this, I do write it down and like put a deadline on it. And that keeps me accountable. And sometimes things do, like sometimes I have to drop the ball. I'm like, okay, my whole day is out the window. I had to take care of this, but that's kind of back to the spinning plate thing. Like sometimes there is one that's going to fall and you have to take care of it and let everything else go. And I think it's just being really disciplined. And that was something, honestly, so we were homeschooled. Yeah. So that I think was, oh yeah. I think that was a big thing for us, or for me, that like taught me how to do that.
We were accountable for getting our work done and teaching ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think,
and we got rewarded when we did. Yeah. Like if we finished our school at 11 a.m. for that day, all of our assignments, and we were done, and we would go to dance.
And I would bake something.
That was it. And that's kind of, I think, what students are seeing now, being in quarantine and having to homeschool. Like they're not in school the normal hours that they would be. They just do their work. And for some, it's very stressful and difficult to deal with, and I totally understand that. But
the different personality
we grew up with that kind of atmosphere, and I think for us, some people maybe not, but for us, it translated really nicely into the real world.
Yeah,
because we were just motivated on our own because it's something that we wanted, and even though it was hard and it's stressful,
exactly.
and there's so much to do and take care of, Like the only person that's going to keep you accountable for all those things that you have to do, even if you don't want to do, is you.
Yeah.
So it's just being motivated, I guess, and organized.
Yeah, and making sure you're
I
passionate.
love staples and planners.
Oh my
and
goodness, you
the
do love
Staples
Staples.
store.
Me, on the other hand, I love Marshalls.
Oh, Marshalls.
I know.
That's probably one of the biggest things I miss now being in quarantine is I miss Marshalls very much.
Best. All
Yep.
of my clothes are from Marshalls.
Yes.
Yep. This isn't because we're in quarantine and I bought it recently online.
Now you just
Otherwise, it would have been.
I know the online shopping is dangerous.
It's super
I am
dangerous.
doing horribly. I have bought so much online that I don't need.
I just bought this cute journal though. Not mad about it.
No, see, but that will help you.
Yeah.
Right?
That's how you're gonna keep your life
Yeah,
organized.
that's how you're gonna keep your life together.
A super organized life.
Well, that's the thing. I like got this really nice planner at the beginning of the year. I was so excited. She got the same one, and now it's like, what are you gonna do with it? Like, what are you gonna put in there? What are you planning? You can't. So
I'm like, wake up, make breakfast, drink,
Great British Baking Show.
watch,
host my own cooking show, or myself.
Take a walk outside. I know. It's like half the stuff I put on the list of
flowers. She literally texted me one day and was like, "Oh, what's your plan for the day?" And I was like, "Look at birds?" Question mark. Like birds? I don't know. Like,
I know. And half the stuff like that we write down we don't even need to do now. Like
I literally wrote one day into my like to-do list, play Animal Crossing. Did I need to write that down?
but you checked it out.
I did check it out.
Maybe it's also like a problem that we have. Like I love being done, that like endorphin rush of checking things off. Maybe it's more of a problem than a good
I
thing.
got out of bed.
it's actually an intervention for me.
When we get back, speaking of that, getting back to Maine State Ballet,
You're back.
So, last question. Do you guys have any advice for younger dancers or just anyone to stay motivated during this quarantine time for dancing and staying positive? Last thoughts.
Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely challenging. I think it's just doing it for you, you know? Like it actually kind of worked out, not that any of this is a blessing, but I was dealing with some injuries as we were gearing up for Beating the Beast that I knew I had, but I was like, oh, it'll either go away or I'll just take care of it and it'll be fine. And I think it was a little bit more serious than what I was letting myself acknowledge.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. So I definitely had some ankle stuff going on. I think it might have been tendonitis, and now it's definitely feeling better. So I was taking classes on point. Like as soon as quarantine hit, I set up my home space and took some classes on point, and it was really, really bothering me. So I was like, well, I mean,
she
I guess
talks about it every day. She was like, it's not going away.
So I was like, I guess this is as good a time as any to let it heal. So I backed off a little bit. I was still teaching classes regularly from home. So I was doing that. I was in my flat shoes, still staying active. Travis, my husband, has been doing Zoom workouts Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I've done every single one with him. So that's been really helpful. Yep. Well, it's kind of like he's just going to wake me up if I don't do it anyway. So I'm
You can cross it off if you do.
I can cross it off. Exactly. I get my, that's the Apple Watch is bad too because I get my rings when I close my exercise ring and it feels really good. Really good. But anyway, so I let that heal, and now I'm back really like taking as much of a full class as I can at home in point shoes and feeling a lot better. So
that's how you're staying motivated.
That's how I'm staying motivated is just like being able to dance again because I kind of stopped myself. So I'm just kind of excited to be moving. And I guess my advice would be just do it for the love of movement. You're home. Nobody's judging you. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Use this time to fill in gaps in your technique maybe.
Yeah. For me, in my busy life, I never had time to cross train. I always wanted to strengthen in general, and because I only ever worked certain muscles in ballet, and I always wanted to make sure I was filling all the gaps, but I was so busy I never had time to. And in quarantine, I've had an opportunity to do that. When we were finishing up rehearsals for Beauty and the Beast, which we're about to start shows, I was doing a role the tapestry.
Mm-hmm.
That
Slay.
physically was killing me. My back was killing me. My hips were killing me. Like, yeah. Like, it was one of my, it's easily, I didn't even get to perform it, and I love it.
That's
I loved
fun to
it.
watch.
I loved it.
All the things that I love watching. That's one of them.
So good.
But what happened was, in one of the movements, whacking my head, I definitely injured my hip. And I was, like you said, I was not accepting how bad it was. And I didn't realize how bad it was until...
She's like limping around. Like,
I know. I was like, I can't walk. And you're like, I'm like, it's fine.
Oh my God, okay.
I did not get that pain to go away for weeks into quarantine. Doing nothing. Like, if I walked around too much, my hip was killing me. So I think that first was like, okay, so maybe it's time for you to, get a little stronger and back off from some of the things you've been doing that are hurting you, which is like, whacking your head. But what's been motivating me?
Asian frogs. Yeah. Not that kind of whacking your head, like with your with your shin. Yeah.
But what's been motivating me, and everybody has a different outlook on this. I'm noticing on the internet, some people are saying quarantine is not the time that you need to, do that project you've been wanting to do. Quarantine's not. I kind of disagree.
I think it depends. Like, I think that it's more just don't feel pressured or stressed out that you have to do even more, like, because you have this free time that will eventually hopefully go away. Like, you're not always gonna have this much free time.
What's worked for me is the outlook of, I'm healthy, my family's healthy, we're safe. I don't know, like, I know there are people out there who wish that they could wake up and go for a run and go out by the lake like I have, or just do anything at all. And I am lucky enough to be able to do that. So I want to make the most of my time in peace, because I was so stressed and I was so busy, and now I'm obviously not. And I want to take this time to do the things that I really enjoy, that are just mundane, that I don't usually get to do, like read a book.
Yeah.
And my motivation's been I know this time isn't going to last forever, which is so good. Like, obviously, I don't want this to last forever. We are all kind of going crazy. But I know when I get back into the thick of things, I'm going to have moments where I wish I was back into my quarantine schedule where I don't have much to do. So I want to completely live in the moment and allow myself to have this time to do the things that are simple, that I enjoy. And that's my motivation every day. I don't want to sit in bed and play Animal Crossing all day.
Just some of the day.
Just some of the day.
So she can cross it off.
Yeah. Just so I can make that check mark. But that's my motivation, is I know this I know, thankfully, this won't last forever, and I don't want to spend it doing nothing.
Yeah, I think it's also remembering that you're not necessarily going to improve right now. Like, when I wanted to say like fill the gaps in your technique, like I've been able to pay a little bit more attention to, like, okay, I know that I'm not super turned out in this position, so I need to lower my leg and turn it out more. And I don't feel so bad doing it at home, because it's like no one can see me, so I can work on it.
Not walking around with car.
Yeah, so I think the pressure's off there a little bit, but it's just about like maintain your abilities, because goodness knows when we go back,
the last thing,
it's going to take time to get.
The last thing I wanted to mention is, like, do not be negative and hard on yourself and hard on other people in this time, because there are people who are going through so much right now. Yeah. And I don't want to be anything other than a positive energy in, like, my students' lives, who we still get to see over Zoom, and my family around me, and my friends who I still talk to as much as I can. I do not want to be like, oh, quarantine is the worst, because there are people who are in quarantine who are just watching their loved ones who are sick or are sick themselves.
Yeah, and we're lucky to not.
And we're so lucky that I don't want to be like, oh, this is the worst, I miss my friends. Like,
we'll get through this.
We're all in this together too.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we're the only ones at home working on our technique, trying to figure it out. Like, everyone around the world is going through it too.
Absolutely. That almost makes it feel a little bit better. Like, for me, owning a business and having financial worries, which is very scary, but for the most part, pretty much everybody, all of my clients and customers have been so understanding and appreciative. And that was a fear of mine. I was like, okay, are people gonna, like, is this gonna people getting mad, like, how's this going to go? And everyone's been so empathetic. And I think that's the nice part about us all being in it together is, for the most part, people are just unified and supportive.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Thanks.
But how are you?
Yeah.
Fine. I'm using I don't want to show you because it's a mess, but my point shoes and my little mats and.
Oh, you should see my living room. We move the furniture every day in my living room to make the dance space. So like, we
finally got a little bit of Marley.
Yeah, I saw that.
Very nice, especially doing all of the classes and yeah, I did a nice.
You've done a lot. I feel like you've probably if anyone's improved,
been like
Emma's been getting private lessons from Janet and Mrs Maylie. Like Emma's definitely improved. Like just constant work.
I'm always dancing, man, because I it's how I function. Like I can't, like other people like need to like write or do something. I like if I don't like start my day in first position, I'm like,
Is this even a day?
I can't even.
Can't cross it off.
There's no check mark. I'm not waking up.
I can't cross anything off if I don't.
Just wake up in a split.
Yeah.
It definitely started to feel that way a little bit after, like when I was trying to back off with the injury. I definitely started to feel like, I think for a while it was therapeutic and nice because my body started to feel better and I didn't come to terms with how bad it felt.
Exactly. Same thing with my hip.
So it was nice, but I was still stretching and doing yoga and whatever and dancing, teaching dancing.
Yeah, which helps. I do all my workouts with my students.
But then I was like, okay, I need to do some foot days. Like, here we go.
I know. Yeah. The first couple weeks, I was like really, really good about doing everything because we were like thinking it's only going to be a short time.
Right.
And those couple of middle weeks, I was just like reality was setting in. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I was like, it was really discouraging, And then I was like, you know what? We're going to do it. It's just, we're going to have fun. It's just people are suffering and I'm well and I'm fine.
Exactly.
And, I can do it.
I have a body that can do it. So.
See, for me, it's like I had those weeks where I took it really easy because I couldn't even make my bed without my hip hurting. That was one of the weirdest ones. I was like, but yeah, I know. I would like lean over my bed and because of the way my hip was, it just would really hurt. But it was once that hip injury went away, it was like 4 weeks into quarantine and I was like, can I even do a split anymore?
Can I split?
I was like, I need to do something.
Yeah. Right.
So, that was a hard realization.
Yeah, so I think we have to dance. Like we can't not dance. Mm-hmm. So we do.
I love watching all the videos of people and what they're doing for dancing.
I know, but I think also that's been different and for our generation is so like this is the first time we're having to really deal with this because you see so many amazing people
so thankful
online.
For technology.
Like dancing and it totally makes me feel like, well, what am I? Like you see all these, you know what I mean?
See, I've had the opposite take on it. It's like they're normal people. We're just at home doing ballet.
Oh, well, that's
the take I've had.
But then sometimes I'll see people and I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so good. Like,
I know. So, and it's hard, like they're in those like little outfits and they look good and I'm like, I'm doing tondus too, but I don't I'm working my muscles, I swear. I'm just not posting it because I don't.
that I think has been well, that's the thing. Like you want to share, but I think there's a bit of a self-confidence thing for sure. Like now seeing these people online and the people that get really famous and their posts do really well or go viral or whatever, it's like that's not everybody. Like you can like I think it was Lee and Sarah that you were talking to or Robin or somebody
that yesterday.
And they were like, yeah, that was fantastic.
I was like in and out because it kept like pausing on me, so I was like, no.
And it's like you don't have to necessarily have the insane extension or a 5, 6, 7, 8 pirouettes to make it. Like you can still dance and be wonderful on your own. Yeah. In the hat. That's right.
Right there.
Artistry is underrated, people.
Oh my gosh, my brother has been so annoyed though because I've been singing around the house all the time lately. And my dad's on like calls for work, so I'm like, say it really quiet. My brother's like, she needs to keep singing, so I won't say anything, but he's so annoyed with me. It's so funny.
DJ just like that you're home, huh?
He's like, go to replay.
Go in the car.
Like we're all together in this space.
Yeah. You know, Dad DJ is, he's like kind of a hermit, so.
Yeah, he'll just like close his door. Stay in there.
Some things never change.
I just watched Frozen 2 the other day. It was so good. So good. Well, thank you for joining me.
Of course, it was good to talk to you.
This first chat.
Yeah.
Oh, we're so honored to be the first ones.
I know.
You made a mistake.
I'm meeting with Michael and Ari in a couple minutes.
Oh no.
Oh, well, that's fun.
Good luck.
That'll be a great
Good luck.
Wanted to get one under my belt before.
Yeah, no, you can't start with those two.
No, I'm just probably not going to say anything.
You're just gonna look at them and they're just gonna go.
Yeah, they'll just go. I just can't believe how long it's been. Like, this, in one breath, it feels like it's flown by. Like, I don't know. Just thinking about it, it's been months.
Oh, I feel like it's flown by
since we've seen each other. It's May. Like, that's insane. It's been 2 months since we've seen each other.
Today I was like, the other day Julia said this, and I was like, actually, it was like 10 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
Is this week 8 of quarantine?
Yes, week 8.
Oh my gosh.
Day 54. I have a little check.
She's like on the walls. Like,
she wakes up in her first position, she's like,
she crossed it up.
It's like tally marks on the wall of like a cell.
So
And now we're getting a snowstorm this weekend, so that's good. World, but we'll let you get ready for your interview.
Go mentally prepare.
So do I click stop recording and then it'll save to my computer?
Yeah, you can click stop recording
in the top corner.
Or if we want to, do we want to do a goodbye and then we could just chat for a minute? Okay. Thanks, Emma.
Thank you so much.
Never.
Just don't put this in.
All right, and I'm stopping the recording.